Hi everyone, Nubkeks here. In today's video, I'm going to be guiding you through the first dungeon of Endwalker on Sage and talking to you about my thought process and just trying to help you out. Because I know that a lot of people, when they first step onto Sage, find it very stressful to heal in dungeons, and they kind of feel like, oh, it's just really tough to top up health bars and all the rest. So I thought, hey, let me know if you like this sort of video too, by the way. Walking through a dungeon might be kind of a nice way to do it. But yeah, it is the first dungeon of Endwalker, hence the black screen. That is on purpose, just to give you a chance to tune out of the video and come back later if you haven't seen this first dungeon yet and don't want to be spoiled. I think it's a relatively reasonable dungeon in terms of spoilers. The spoilers are light enough. But yeah, just so you are aware, we're going in, we're level 82 on Sage, so we got most of our abilities, minus Numa, your big laser, at max level. Without any further ado then, let's dive in to the dungeon, to the recording I've got. Okay, let's go. Let us go. So, let's talk about Sage. One of the nice things about Sage, you're going to notice as we're going through this, is that you can be quite flexible in terms of getting stuff done as you're moving between pulls, right? Going from pull to pull with your Eucrasia, right? So Eucrasia Diagnosis, this is our single target shield on the tank. I'm always looking to get that up on the tank between every pull. So basically, you know, smooth out that damage income to the tank. When they first pull everything together, all of these mobs are alive. So it's the start of every pull, and this is a pretty small pull, but the start of every pull is usually where there's a lot of damage coming in. So a small shield, it's a little bit of damage smoothing, and it also is going to give us an Adder Sting, which is this over here, that part of our job gauge. We only get that when the shield we put in the tank is broken. There's actually a nice sound effect to it, by the way, so you can hear very audibly. So if you are running through dungeons and you're having a really tough time keeping the tank alive, you can just slap a Eucrasian Diagnosis on the tank every time you get one of those stacks, and then just try to spend your stacks and not overcap on the Adder Sting stacks. And that can be a decent way. Just use that audio cue to go, okay, the shield's broken on the tank, I can give him another shield. It's probably overhealing a lot of the time, but if you are really having a tough time, that can be a nice little cue to keep track of and to deal with. As you can see, again, going through this pull, we're going to put our Diagnosis shield on the tank, Eucrasian Diagnosis. Then Eucrasian Dosis, our single target dot, put that on everything as we're going because it's instant cast. We can even then use our Icarus ability to jump to the tank to catch up. And just like that, you know, we're getting from pull to pull, and we're actually getting dots out, we're getting shields out. We're just being efficient while also being fully mobile. It's one of the really nice things that you can do on the Sage, is kind of feel like you're having a pretty good impact moving from pull to pull. I feel like the other big thing that we're doing here as well is a lot of your core healing comes from this other big part of your job gauge, your Adder Skull. So you can have up to 3 charges of this. The abilities we're using, we've got, I can't remember the name of this. We'll have to see. Toracole, maybe? I think it might be Toracole. But this one here is your single target heal that also gives 10% damage reduction to the tank. So this is one of your most powerful tools for keeping the tank alive with a short 45-second cooldown. We have a 30-second cooldown Caracole, which gives 10% damage reduction to your whole party, also gives them a regen effect. And that's usually my go-to, right? Because it's 15 seconds of damage reduction with only a 30-second cooldown. So in situations where I'm going to overcap, I'm going to be maxed out at 3 stacks on my Adder Skull gauge, I like to pop that and have it running. And also the 10% damage reductions from these two abilities don't stack, right? So for keeping your tank alive, now in boss fights, you're going to need to do AoE healing, right? So that's where this AoE damage reduction can be useful for your whole team. But for, you know, for the regular trash mobs, it's really mostly about the tank. So space those two out, right? Give your tank the 10% damage reduction from Caracole. Then when they drop a bit lower, like 10 seconds or so into the pull, then you could slap them with the heal that also gives damage reduction, and just sort of stack those damage reduction durations together, spread it out a bit, so there's consistent damage reduction rolling on the tank. That can be quite a helpful thing. One really nice thing as well is that our AoE shield, Eucrasian Prognosis, actually lasts for 30 seconds. It lasts a very long time. So in situations like this, in a boss fight, for example, where I'm not really sure what this boss does, it's pretty useful to like always have that shield just rolling on your team so that you're always aware of it. You're always ready so that when that AoE hit does come in, that's not like you have to heal everything up from scratch, but at least some of that hit was mitigated by the shield, which is a big part of what you're trying to do. One ability that I've actually come to really enjoy on Sage is Pepsis. which is this cooldown over here. I don't use it that much. The way I tend to use it, though, is to get some of that extra AoE healing out, which is, for sure, one of the weaknesses of the Sage, right? Is we're going to pop our Eucrasian Prognosis to shield everyone, then pop Pepsis to consume the shield for a big heal, then pop another Eucrasian Prognosis to reapply that shield that we just consumed. It just gives you a lot of safety, right? It keeps everyone sort of topped up, keeps them safe. Our other AoE heal, as you just saw, is, again, can't remember the name of it, but it's your 30-second cooldown AoE heal, which is OGCD. It's one of your Adderskull abilities. So that obviously is another very useful way, one of your go-tos to do that AoE healing. So that's some of the stuff I'm looking to do, whilst also, of course, you know, for bosses like this, trying to keep our dot on the boss as much as we can. And yeah, then we're sort of holding on to our other big cooldowns to deal with abilities as we go, as we need them. We've got quite a few tools here on the Sage. We'll talk about that more, I think, certainly for the last boss fight. The end of this dungeon got pretty intense, so we'll see how it goes when we get there. But yeah, here we go. We're moving into the more... There, right away. Okay, we finished with that fight. Let's give that tank a new shield. Have that shield going so that they can go, and I'll get that Toxicon cast for the next group. Toxicon is maybe a bit weird at lower levels. I think the basic Toxicon isn't that good, but Toxicon 2 does the same single target damage as Dosis 3, but the advantage is that it doesn't cost mana, which is nice, and it also does some AoE cleave damage. So yeah, it does more AoE damage than your Decrazia 2 does, slightly, well, because it does a big single target chunk as well. So it's just one of those things to manage. But yeah, basically, you know, for your core healing, a lot of it is coming down to just managing this gauge and going, okay, I don't have any Adderskull right now, which means I don't have like that extra healing for my tank. And that's where you start to need to use your bigger cooldowns to play around it, right? So popping bigger cooldowns maybe near the start of the pull, when it's a big pull, to mitigate some of that incoming damage so that you can preserve your Adderskull a bit more. We're starting to use some of those other cooldowns to cover the lack of Adderskull. So here we go. So you can see, again, I'm not trying to hold on to these for too long. So we've got our single target Haima. We'll see if we use that on this pull. This is a pretty big one. So there we go. We're going to put our AoE damage reduction out. And we're trying to do a lot of damage as well. We're keeping an eye on our tank's health. There we go. Going to put a shield on the tank, single target shield. And there we go. We're going to throw out Haima as well. You can see there's a lot of damage coming in on the tank. Haima is like your really big tank helper cooldown. Gives them just these consistent shields over and over. Smooths out that damage and keeps them safe. And again, at this point, I'm feeling pretty good. I actually popped... again, I'm so bad with the ability names. We popped our ability to restore one Adderskull here. Again, just giving us that extra juice to keep the tank safe, keep everyone safe. Knowing that we have extra free heals if we need them. And there we go again. Another shield. After every pull, always shielding up that tank. Having them ready to go. You can even use Panhaima, which is your AoE shielding. You can even use that to keep the tank alive if you need to. Now, it's obviously much weaker than Haima is. But you can actually stack them together. Though you probably shouldn't need to. I really recommend mostly spacing your cooldowns out. But here we go. We're going into this pull. We've got our AoE damage reduction on. We're actually going to pop Holos here, which is your big 2-minute cooldown, which does an AoE heal. In this case, obviously, the AoE heal itself not that useful, but it's an extra 10% damage reduction, which does stack. So now we've got the 10% damage reduction from our Caracole stacked with Holos to help keep the tank alive. And again, we're being cautious here in the sense that we don't have a lot of Adderskull and not much way to get it back. So you can see I'm actually doing quite a few Eucrasian diagnoses. We're doing quite a few single target shields in this pull because again our toolkit was just low. We didn't have Haima. We used Holos near the start. We didn't have our ability to get our Adderskull back. We were low on Adderskull. We're low on damage reduction. So we kind of again tracking that there and going okay, the tank is still taking pretty heavy damage. And I don't have that many tools, so this is the point where I step back from damage a little bit, and I start to throw out those extra shields on the tank. It is a damage loss, obviously, you know, like for single target, for single target damage, you know, instead of putting a shield on the tank, you can cast Dosis twice. It's literally twice as much damage as doing a single target shield in a Toxicon 2. It's twice as much damage. For AoE, again, it's close to twice as much damage, just casting 2 Decrazias instead of a shield. And Toxicon 2. So it is a damage loss in that sense. But, I mean, you are the healer. You do need to heal the tank at some point and keep them alive. So if that is something you need to do, then it's one of the most efficient ways to do it. Okay, we got our second boss fight here. I think this one's not too crazy. Again, I wasn't super sure what's going on, so we're putting that AoE shield on everyone, trying to keep them alive, and we're just filling in with damage spells then as much as we can, really. Right, just using our damage spells as much as we can. Keep that damage rolling. So this one's interesting. Minutia Stop. So this is where it's like one by one it freezes people, and it shoots a line AoE towards them that they can't avoid, so they have to take that damage. So we're going to get the shield out, pop our damage reduction just before it hits. I actually popped Panheimer there to get that Heimer shield on everyone. A little bit overkill, probably should have popped that sooner, but I wasn't exactly sure what the mechanic was. And there you can actually see us using our Pepsis combo to heal up. Probably could have just spent Adderskull on our AoE Adderskull heal instead of using Pepsis, but there you go. Pepsis combo, I can't remember if I've talked about it yet. I was having graphics card issues, so I've had to record the first part of this dungeon run a few times, so I don't remember if I talked about it. For this mechanic, by the way, it's the one that doesn't move. It's the one that's real. But Pepsis, you can basically do your Eucrasian Prognosis, or your AoE shield. Use Pepsis to rip that shield off for an extra chunk of heal, and then just pop another Eucrasian Prognosis to reapply the shield again. So you can combo those two things together for a nice chunk of AoE healing. Which again, it's just using that Pepsis cooldown. So there we go. Again, look, the Tank Buster came in, healing up the tank, giving them a damage reduction after. You could give them the damage reduction beforehand if you thought it was needed, but in that situation it really wasn't. So here we go again. Put our AoE shield on, so everyone has their AoE shield. Got Caracole going for some damage reduction. Make sure we're not both getting hit by that line. That would be pretty bad. Here we go. So you can see the damage is quite easily manageable. So, and we're just going into damage because the boss is almost down. We'll throw out one more shield. Probably a bit overkill, to be honest, because the boss is going to die. With the Pepsis as well. Overkill. We probably didn't need to heal anyone there. We could have just done damage to kill it ever so slightly faster. And we're moving now into the end part of this dungeon, where I think the tank does some bigger pulls, so it gets a little bit spicier. So you can sort of see us using all of that toolkit, bringing it together. And yeah, just, you know, how to keep the tank alive in a bit more of a stressful situation. So let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes. So again, you can see moving through the pulls, always dropping in those Eucrasian dots. There we are. Wasn't sure with the invisible wall there if I could make it through safely. So we're just going to put our dots out on more people. We can put the shield back on the tank. Give that guy a heal. I actually wasted the tank heal on that guy instead of just a regular Adderskull heal, so that was a mistake. And coming into this, it's getting kind of stressful. So we've actually popped Haima on the tank, going straight into this pull. Like, this is a pretty big pull. I know there's a lot of damage coming in. I want to just make sure that the tank is safe pretty much from the get-go. So Haima is going to generate full value with the shielding through this pull and just smooth out the start of it. One thing that actually goes super well together is Haima and I think Soteria. So it's this cooldown that's right beside it. This improves the healing of your damage spells. So it's actually really good to combo the two together. That's actually something I like to... I didn't do it properly in this pull, but it's something I do like to do. So you can see here, we have to restore our Adderskull with our cooldown there. So the tank is still taking pretty heavy damage, and just making sure we have enough heals going through to keep them alive. Again, probably didn't need that last Adderskull heal there because the enemies are almost dead. But yeah, so that is a nice thing, right? Because Haima keeps giving them a shield that keeps refreshing, but a little bit of damage will go through every time the shield breaks. But Soteria just ups your sort of passive healing from doing damage. So it's not a lot of healing, but the two just combo nicely together. So yeah, that's another really solid combo that you can't go too far wrong with. I didn't talk about our Physis too, actually, either, which is again, it's an AoE regen. Also increases healing received by 10%. So this is another cooldown, which you can absolutely use for just tank healing when you're doing these pulls. So again, this is a really big pull. So let's see how we're going to do here. We're going to put some dots on. That was maybe a mistake. We're going to give the tank the damage reduction heal. Again, putting some shields on him. We're relatively low on CDs, as you can see. So I'm actually going to use Panheimer there just to keep the tank alive, pretty much. And then we're going into AoE damage where we can afford to with our Toxicons. But you can see it right there. Using Panheimer, not to heal the team too much, but mostly just to heal that tank and make sure that's a bit of extra shielding, because this is quite a big pull. I mean, there was some damage coming in, so it's not too bad either. Need to make sure the tank doesn't die here at this point. We've got our Haima coming up in a second if we need it. We're going to pop Soteria and Haima, get them both running. And yeah, that should keep the tank nicely safe as we just finish out this pull. So you can see it's a good combo right here. Again, I'm not, perfect at the whole weaving and double weaving thing quite yet. So I'll probably lose some efficiency there. But But yeah, it kind of overheals the tank towards the end. But yeah, kind of an intense pull there, but it's like spacing out your cooldowns, managing them. And yeah, just always having something about thinking about what's coming up next that I can pop to keep the tank alive. Or to keep the group alive. Like, what cooldowns do I have coming up in the next few, like 10, 15 seconds? Am I going to need to, you know, use, like, what am I going to need to do? It's thinking ahead a little bit. So, for example, right here, we got smacked with an AoE. I didn't know it was coming. So we'll throw out our Physis and an AoE shield, and that will keep us nice and safe. Cool. Top everyone up with Pepsis. I couldn't remember what this boss does. I remember there was a fuck ton of AoEs, but I wasn't sure if there was unavoidable damage and whatnot, because I did this before as a DPS. So a little overzealous with the shielding. But again, because your AoE shield lasts for 30 seconds, it doesn't do that much harm for one GCD to just throw it out there and make sure it's on. Probably should have saved our Toxicon stacks, though, for some of this. We should have saved Toxicon. So right there, those two guys hit each other with an AoE, so we're going to need to pop some extra healing to top them up. So we're doing our Physis combo. And then we've got our Adder Skull heal to top him up a little bit extra as well. One thing I was also not sure about on this boss, I was using Eucrasian Dosis on all of the bosses, keeping that dot ticking. I think it does work, but I wasn't 100,000,000% sure. We've also used Holos at this point, but we've got Panheima for our next big things, right? So with our big AoE cooldowns, it's like Holos and Panheima. So we've used Holos, it's used up, so now we're thinking Panheima. The next time there's big AoE damage coming in that we're going to have a tough time dealing with, we can pop that. At this point, I can't pop it because I'm too far away from everyone to actually hit them with the heal, or with the shield, so we need to wait for people to get closer, just to make sure that it actually works. So yeah, we're coming back in. There's 2 vulnerability stacks on the tank, which means that they could start taking some heavier damage, so I have to bear that in mind. Okay, so you can see we're ready to heal the tank, knowing that they have that vulnerability stacks. The damage actually is not that bad, but just being aware of that, I'm being ready to instantly top them up because they could drop pretty low. Okay, so here we've got quite a bit of damage coming in. We've got our AoE heal though. We don't have Pepsis quite yet, so just watching out for that. We do a normal Prognosis just for some extra healing because of that. Just make sure everyone is healthy. Now we're good. We've got Physis. We've got lots of stuff coming back up, so we're not too worried. We won some item. Fantastic. Okay. Alright. Yeah, just trying to weave as much damage in as we can. So here we go. This is where we should really use that Panheima. Unfortunately, you can see we don't have our AoE damage reduction in before that hit, but Panheima was there to cover it. So again, it's sort of balancing both those things. I realized in this run I never used Zoe, which is improving our heal, the next heal that we cast. So that was a wasted cooldown. Like I said, not perfect by any means. And now at this point, the first boss is dead. Holos just came back off cooldown. So we're feeling really confident here that there's really nothing much these bosses can do. We've got plenty of Adder Skull saved up as well with 2 stacks. So we're solid. We're really not worried at this point. It's mostly just doing damage, just help finish this run off a little bit sooner. That is most of what we're doing. Okay, so some damage coming in on the tank. He already has the damage reduction from Caracole. We both that in. So not too worried. But yeah, that pretty much brings us to the end of the run, guys. Let me know how it was. And especially if, you know, if you'd like to see runs like this in the future on other jobs and stuff like that, or maybe a run when I get to level 90 as well. But specifically, let me know if there was stuff that you found useful, or if there were things you would rather I talk about, or would you prefer if I commentated like live on the dungeon run? Let me know so that I can adjust it for next time and try bringing you like information in as helpful a way as possible. Let me know. So yeah, I enjoy doing this stuff, but yeah, I think it's cool. But let me know what you would like to see instead, or if you did enjoy it. Thank you for watching, though. I hope you guys are having a great time with Endwalker. I'm level 85 now. I've been slowed down a lot. Like, unfortunately, today when I was trying to record this video today, I had some DirectX errors and my game crashed. Final Fantasy XIV crashed. So I'm back in. I will be back in a almost 5,000 person queue. So it's like, well, I guess that's me not playing for the rest of the day, which is really annoying. But I mean, it's just one of those things. So I'm taking it slow and steady. But yeah, I will see you next time. That was a look at healing dungeons as Sage. Let us know any tips you have too. And yeah, thank you for watching. Bye-bye.